The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the most complex and long-standing disputes in history. It all began with two groups, Jews and Muslims, both claiming the same land as their own. In the early 1900s, Jewish people fleeing persecution in Europe started migrating to Palestine, which was then part of the Ottoman Empire. After World War I, the British took control of the land, and tensions between Jews and Muslims grew. When World War II ended, the horrors of the Holocaust led to increased support for a Jewish homeland. In 1947, the United Nations proposed splitting the land into two states, one for Jews, one for Muslims, but Muslim nations rejected the plan. In 1948, Israel declared independence. This sparked the First Arab-Israeli War. Neighboring Muslim countries invaded, but Israel survived and even expanded its territory. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were forced from their homes, a tragedy they call the Nakba, or catastrophe. Over the decades, wars, uprisings, and peace talks have shaped the conflict. In 1967, Israel took control of the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem after the Six-Day War. The international community, however, does not recognize Israel's claim over East Jerusalem. Today, the city remains divided. West Jerusalem is largely Jewish, while East Jerusalem has a predominantly Palestinian population. At the heart of the conflict is the Old City in East Jerusalem, a site sacred to three major religions. For Muslims, it is home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, also known as Al-Haram al-Sharif. For Jews, it is the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism. Christians also hold deep historical and religious ties to the area. Control over these sites has been a major source of tension for decades. In 2007, Israel imposed a blockade on Gaza after the Hamas group took control of the territory. The blockade has remained in place ever since, restricting the movement of goods and people. Israel also continues to occupy the West Bank and East Jerusalem, territories that Palestinians hope will form part of their future state. Today, the conflict remains unresolved. Israel controls much of the land, while Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank struggle for sovereignty. Wars, rocket attacks, and military responses continue to fuel the cycle of violence. International efforts to broker peace have largely failed. What does the future hold? Some believe a two-state solution, separate nations for Israelis and Palestinians, is the answer. Others push for a single state where both live together, but with deep-rooted divisions, lasting peace remains uncertain. Despite all this, the voices of suffering Palestinians often go unheard. The mainstream media rarely shows the real picture. Families struggling to survive, children losing their lives, entire communities wiped out. While human rights are debated in global politics, the basic rights of Muslims in Palestine are ignored. In the midst of war and occupation, one question remains: how long will the world stay silent?